Okay, we're holding over here, in the words of Rabbi Tatz, in the world of Bechira, free will, and the title of this particular small chapter is called Ratzain, which we're going to have to define what Ratzain is, but basically it's the desire and the will and the volition of a person. Shorish HaToda'ah is the root of a person's consciousness. Let's see how he explains. In order for us to understand what free will is all about, we must identify and characterize as makom sharasha. We have to find the root and the source where Bechira actually emanates from. Where is the part of the mind in which Bechira, free will, exists and expresses itself? So says Rav Tatz, as we described up until this point, free will is the ability that a person has to create within themselves. I create who I am. I create the pathways that I'm going in. I create my life based on the decisions that I make. And therefore, as we mentioned many times before, that if I made mistakes in my Bechira, my free will, so I created that situation in my life, so I can't push the finger and blame another person for what I did. It's me. I'm the one that did that. So too, on the other hand, if I made a bold decision, which was a valiant, courageous choice, which was for the benefit, was for good, therefore I created something that's positive in my life, and I'm not going to give all the credit to HaKadosh Baruch Hu or the people that helped me along the way. They get part of the credit because they helped me, but at the end of the day, if I was bold enough to make a decision that required me to dig very deep into my world of Bechira, so therefore I'm the creator over my destiny in that particular area. Says Rav Tatz, Merkaz Pi'ilusahu B'Sharash HaTorah, the root of this, the root of the actions of Bechira is going to be in the consciousness of the person. B'nekuda mifka shebein abilti yedua dargas hakesa akademis l'chol mudas, and it's in a place that is unknown. He says over here it's like the hidden crown. What does that mean? It's the hidden crown, which is, again, it's hard to translate the Hebrew, but it's a hidden crown, which is it precedes the awareness, which brings a person to the highest point, which means that there is an awareness. There's an inner place inside of the person. There's an inkling of understanding that the person has, that from that point emanates one's Bechira, one's free will. Says Rabbi Tatz, what is that point? Shorish zeh shel haseichel hu haratzain. So the root of this in the mind of a person, which allows them to have what's called Bechira, free will, emanates from one starting point. And the starting point is Ratzain, it's one's desire and one's will. Now, it should not be mistaken. It's not the lowly desires of the person to be drawn after everything that's in it. It's the highest form of the Ratzain of the will, which, as we're going to see, is the Ratzain that is there inside the neshama, inside the soul of a person. That really is the starting point of all Bechira. So the starting point is Hashem wants us to make the right choice. So He gave us a trait inside of us called Ratzain. It's an ability that one has to access the deepest desires of the neshama of the soul, and if he will access that in the right way, it will transform his Bechira, his free will, into the positive decisions. If a person's Ratzain is very weak, or a person is out of touch with the real will of their neshama, of their soul, then their world of Bechira becomes extremely complicated. Now, in the Fardas, if we'll explain this idea, there are three levels of the soul. or we'll call them the three lower aspects of the soul. Neshama, there's what's called the neshama. There is a ruach, there is spirit. The nephesh, and there is the okay, we'll see how we translate. The neshama is broken up into three different parts. Neshama is on the top, ruach is in the middle, and nephesh is like the most basic part of the soul. That's on the bottom, as we shall see. So he says like this: Haruach hiaramash abisasi shalachius anoshis. The ruach itself is the level of the human spirit in which a person's inner life takes place in. His inner world is in that place called the ruach, called this spirit, so to speak. Haneshama, what's the neshama? It is higher up than the ruach. The neshama is the spiritual aspect of a person which connects them with the much higher spiritual world and realm. In the essence of the neshama is that it's really outside of the misgeret. It's outside of the framework of the human condition. Mi'al roish, it's above. Mikifa na'alis, it is really, as the Kabbalistic works point out, the neshama is really like it's here in the mayach, in the brain, which means it's above everything else, and therefore says Rabbi Tatz, makifa v'na'alis, it surrounds things, una'alis, and it's above it. You could surround something if you're outside of it. The Russian army can surround Ukraine if they're on the periphery of Ukraine and they are working their way in. But if you're on the inside, you cannot surround something else. The neshama is removed from the basic lowly aspects of this world, and therefore it's above everything else, and therefore it's surrounding a person. If a person would feel it in the right way, they would get in touch in the right way, they would be embraced by their neshama. Okay, so then he goes, Nephesh nimseis mitachas the ruach. The nephesh, which is the lowliest aspect of the neshama, of the soul, is below the ruach, is below the spirit. And the nephesh is connected to the body. Neshama is above the body. Ruach, as we'll have to see, is the spirit that is running from the neshama to the nephesh. And the nephesh is the lowly part of the soul that's connected to the body. That's why the Zohar writes that we are only living with the ikvei, the neshama, we're living with the heels of our soul. Because we have the lowest part of the soul is what is inside of our body. Remember, neshama up here. Ruach is bringing the neshama down into this world. What ends up inside of our body, that's the nephesh, the lowliest part. We'll call it maybe the most animalistic, basic, temporal part of the soul. That's the connection that we have to our body. Hanefesh yedua kishitufa degufa. It's known that the nephesh, the lowest part, is like a partner to the body. It's the part of the soul that partners up and pairs up with the body. Inside the nephesh, inside this lowly part of the soul, all of the physical happenings will stir. Hatshukais v'hatayvais, one's desires, one's lusts. Hate'avain v'hargashais, one's pleasures, and in this world, the hargashas, the emotions, their feelings, it's all inside of there. Neshama mechabes es haruach imaruchnius. So what does the neshama do? The neshama combines the ruach, this cavern of spirit, so to speak, with ruchnius, with spirituality. Nefesh mechaberes oisa imagashmius. The nefesh holds on to the ruach and is trying to pull it down into the goof. So imagine what's going on over here. You have neshama on top, you have nefesh on the bottom. Neshama is attached to the spiritual worlds. Nefesh is attached to the physical world, to the body. In between these two things is called a ruach, is called the spirit. Now, If the neshama works and accomplishes what it's supposed to do, it pulls up the ruach. The ruach then is going to pull on the nephesh, and then you become a spiritual being, and your body then will become a clear vessel that is merely here in this world to do the will of the soul. But if the nephesh is stronger, and it's pulling down on the ruach, down into this world, then the neshama is getting dragged down also, and it's losing, so to speak, its connection to the upper realms. So what's the person going to do? Is he going to go after the desires of the soul, or is he going to go after the desires of the nephesh, of the lowlier world down here? Says the Gemara, says Reb Tatz, "Haseichel kavishan choivim oisan chai beruach v'sham iskayem ez habechira chavshi." So the seichel, the mind of a person, is living inside of the ruach. It's living inside of this middle ground over here. V'sham iskayem ez habechira chavshi, and there is where our bechira is going to exist. Haratzon u'ashar shel haruach. Ratzon, the desire, is the shorish, is the root of the ruach, of this spirit in between. It could look upwards to the soul, and it could identify with the neshama. Or it could tilt its eyes down, nephesh, to the lower part of the soul, and choose that. So the ruach, this middle part, is really, he's saying, where all the bechira is found, because it's nishta here, nishta there. It's not here, it's not there, it's in between. And what you're going to do, in which direction you're going to move, it all depends on which way you're looking. Are you looking up, or are you looking down? You go looking up towards your neshama, up towards ruchnius, up towards Hashem, or are you looking down towards the body, and you're looking down towards the world, and the pleasures and the like. So if you're looking up, says Rav Tatz, so then the root of your bechira, which is ratzon, which is your desire, it will be drawn after that, and therefore it's going to go in that direction. If you're looking down, so then the ratzon, the desire that you have inside of your ruach, is going to end up being drawn down. So in a certain way, we're like, either you call it schizophrenia, or it's like a chameleon, which means, which way am I going? Which direction am I moving in? Am I going up or am I going down? Says Rabbi Tatz, well, that's Bechira. That's what it's all about. How do you see yourself? Which direction are you moving? So the chameleon, which we could actually, the ruach go either direction. Either you can go up or you can go down. So which way do you want to go? Well, it depends how strong is the ratzon, is the will inside of you. Is it a will that wants up, or is it a will that wants to go down? Let's leave it over here for today, and keep this in mind, because we're going to see as we go along, we'll see the inner battle and the struggle that takes place inside of the person, and that's always, you'll know that you're exercising your bechira when you can feel yourself being pulled in two directions, and you have to make a decision, which direction do you want to go in? Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time, Be'ez Hashem.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Pleasure. All the best.